I doubt anyone's gonna view this. I mean, you never know. There's probably like maybe one or two people, but considering I'm not like a big mainstream viewer, and the fact that this film has been out for like a while, I doubt anyone's gonna review it. But I did want to talk about something on Valentine's Day, so I thought I'd talk about this somewhat love story. And again, before I get into it, a couple things. One, if you want more in depth, there's gonna be a link to my written review in the description below. Not right away though, just because again I'm still in the process. I have it written, I just need to post it, and like it doesn't. The website I post on just clumps it all together, so I have to like do like the indentations and spaces between paragraphs myself. But it should be up in like a half hour. Also, I've read the book, so that's probably going to influence my opinion. So first off, again, heard this movie was coming out, wanted to see it because it was getting like a really strong word of mouth, but I'm one of those people who has to read the book, and the book is great. Like, it's engaging, it's suspenseful, just really well written, and honestly, I feel like I haven't seen the critical reviews yet, but I really hope that like they aren't so much that David Fincher doesn't receive too much credit for this film, because like it's someone's book. I mean, someone wrote an incredible story, and it got adapted to a film. He did a good job He should be credited with how well he adapted it, not well how he wrote it. This is Gillian Flynn's story, not David Fincher's. So, but with all that said, I still really liked it, and I mean, I didn't love it, but again, I've read the books. There's like changes not. But if you haven't read it, you're gonna love this movie. And again, I can't really talk about it without getting to spoilers, so again, you've been warned. So basically, this film is about like this girl's been kidnapped, and if you're curious who the girl gone is, it's the wife of Nick Dunn, who is played by Ben Affleck, and it's really engaging. Like, you're really suspenseful the entire time. It's really engaged. It's like clocking along really well, just keeping you interested. I mean, the stuff they cut out more or less just keeps it moving. And yeah, it's just really engaging. And when you get to the twist, you're like, holy shit. This is intense. And usually, like, when you have a twist in a film, like, that's when it tends to start winding down. Like, Fight Club, like, everything after the twist was dropped. It was still a really good movie. It's just after the twist, it's like, I'm just gonna go. Here, it's like things keep escalating even after the twist, and I thought that was so impressive. And, like, you really get into these characters as well. I mean, they're really engaging. Nick's really good. Ben Affleck does a great job as him. Amy's also great in the movie. I mean, Rosamund Pike does a wonderful job playing her, especially her psychotic side. Spoiler, she's crazy. Although, I don't feel like she quite sold, like, the innocent side of her, like her BS Amazing Amy face. I don't feel like she told that. I feel like she delivered it. She played it more like a subdued version of her crazy side, and I don't think that was. And it didn't work to sell a twist. I mean, again, if maybe it's because I read the book, maybe I wasn't too shocked by the twist, but I mean, it was still really effective. It's just I would have had her. I wish she had delivered like her lines before the reveal happens a little differently. And I mean, the other issue I have, I mean, is the police officers. Like, they're a little too like closed-minded. Like, it's whenever you do these stories where a character's accused of something and being set up, like there's always that really narrow-minded character. And the book, they're pretty good about dressing okay, like never. Oh wait, never mind actually. But I was gonna say like in the book, I do like in the book because I do the cliche of like usually when the character gets set up, they just flat out say they're being set up. But at least, but they do acknowledge in the book that you're probably gonna look as crazy if you say that. But anyway, but that's not what I wanted to say. What I wanted to say was, it does bother me how they are just so dead set on Nick from the start, and they really aren't willing to consider anything else, especially considering there are some flaws and cracks that Nick points out about how there are flaws in Amy's argument and story, but they just seem to go over their head. And especially given there are multiple cops, you feel like you could have just one good cop, one bad cop, but it never really seems to sit around there. I mean, they're both equally suspicious. I mean, they're so interchangeable. And the other issue I have, Neil Patrick Harris is in the movie. He does a good job in the role he's given. I mean, I think he does fine. It's just a little tad distracting because I know it's him and I mainly associate him with comedy. But again, he does a good job, and he's not in the film that long, so it didn't take me out that much. Really well shot, well directed. I mean, nothing too amazing visually, but really looks really good. And creepy music, but no standout score. Most of the issues I have with the film are just because I've read the books. There's like certain scenes I'm like, oh, this isn't how I picture in the book, or this scene wasn't effective because they cut this out or they changed it. Like most of these are like very personal changes that like that you'd only get if you read the book. I think the biggest thing is that there isn't as much insight into the characters as there was in the book, because the book, it's narrated from their perspective, the characters' perspectives, like specifically Nick and his wife. So you get inside their heads, and the film does the best it can, but it can't quite get inside their heads the way it does in the book. And also, this means that some of the dialogue doesn't translate well. Like, it was meant to be read, not spoken, and some of the dialogue was like word for word, and it just sounds kind of funny. And then there are like times whenever in the first act where we have to get exposition out of the way, and in the book the characters are explaining it to us via their thoughts, and it's handled well, whereas in the film they have to find a way to get that same exposition across, and it's very awkward and weirdly placed. I mean, it's like characters will say stuff to each other that there's no reason why they're telling each other this other than they need to find some way to get the exposition across. I mean, to quote the great Muppet Caper, "Why are you telling me this? It's plot exposition. It has to go somewhere." I love that line. Alright. Another thing I really liked, also I don't know, they do add some comedic moments, and at times it does feel a little too much, and it feels a little too appropriate given the tone the film's going for. But nonetheless, again, really good film. I did enjoy it. Like, if you read my review, there's a lot of negative stuff in there, but I think that's just because I feel like there's more. I can't really say much about the good stuff outside of it was really good, whereas I feel like the negative stuff just... Whenever I review books, I tend to get very nitpicky with the changes, so there's a lot of rants and nitpickies if you're going to read my written review. But again, don't be fooled. I did really enjoy the film. I just tend to focus on that stuff a lot. And yeah, if you haven't seen it yet, I'd highly recommend you check it out. I'd recommend you read the book first if you haven't already, just because it's really good. And if you have and you haven't seen the movie yet, don't worry, it's handled well. I mean, there's a couple changes here and there that might upset you, but you'll probably enjoy it. And you don't have to read the book to get the film. Like, it gets it across fine. I mean, there's like little bits and pieces there that are handled better in the book, but all around, it's a really solid film that I think, if you haven't read the book, you're probably going to enjoy it way more than me just because you aren't comparing it. And yeah, I can totally see why this film became popular. It's really, really good. Like, it's like, ooh, like, whoa. So yeah, I mean, I don't think it deserved to get nominated for an Oscar. I mean, like, again, it wasn't perfect. It had flaws, and and also, again, this is someone's book. It's a book adaptation. It would be giving the filmmakers a little too much credit if it got like some sort of screenplay or Best Picture nomination, like, because again, it's Gillian Flynn's story. David Fincher just adapted it. He did a really nice job adapting it, but it's still an adaptation. So yeah, again, if you want a more in-depth review, which somehow took me well over an hour to write, surprisingly. It's amazing how much I can write when I want to, yet when I have to write papers for school, it's like I can struggle. But yeah, that's my review. So if you're at all curious, if you have anything to say, please comment below, like, dislike, subscribe, and I hope you enjoyed this video, and have a happy Valentine's Day, although if you watch this movie on although I wouldn't recommend watching this movie on Valentine's Day, because it might take the wind out of your sails. So, until next time, take care.